I'm Neil O'Hanlon. I'm a litigation partner at Hogan Lovells. Well, most recently, the work has been on behalf of the Early Care and Education Project. And the most recent case that we brought was a lawsuit against the City of Vista. What had happened was the city wanted to adopt a new ordinance to regulate what's known as large family daycare homes. Unfortunately, from everyone's perspective, the ordinance that they were proposing to adopt violated state law in numerous respects. Public counsel lawyers, Pam Schmidt, Carla Pleites, advocated against the adoption of the ordinance, but the city would not listen, and so litigation followed. We brought a lawsuit. That got the city's attention, and we entered into lengthy negotiations to revise the ordinance that they had just adopted to bring it into compliance with state law. And we were successful. We got a new ordinance passed. We also had the city pay $30,000 towards the attorney's fees that were incurred in the case, and so that goes directly to public counsel. Well, in this particular instance, it's vitally important because working people need to have the option, which is available to them under state law, to have their children cared for in a home facility in the community where they live. I had worked with Pam previously on an earlier case against a different city, and so I knew Pam and I knew all of her knowledge and talents and the great wealth that she brings to help all the volunteer attorneys. Working with Carla, it was the first time for me, and it was a delight. She's bright, she's talented, she's enthusiastic about what she does. I think when you think of people like Pam and Carla, they epitomize for me what public counsel is. Public counsel is the staff, it's the dedicated lawyers who do this day in and day out, and we, the volunteer attorneys, for us it's a privilege to work with them. I want to thank public counsel for this recognition. I gratefully accept it on behalf of not only myself but also the other lawyers at the firm. It means a lot to me to get the recognition because of my great respect for public counsel.
My name is Ana Cecilia Campos Macias, and I have been volunteering for public counsel since November of last year at the Guardianship Clinic. My work really had to do with, I would relate to a lot of the clients, guardianship petitions, objections to guardianship, terminations of guardianship, and the reason I loved the work was because I had a lot of things in common. It's the biggest honor because I know public counsel's work and I know what they're devoted to, which is to help the minority in the United States overall. It's the nation's pro bono, largest pro bono firm. And because I relate to them, it's good to help others like how I've been helped because I've been a client myself to public counsel. Thank you, Public Counsel Law Center, for giving me the opportunity to help others. And first of all, I want to thank Gina Amato for helping me with my U visa case. And second of all, I want to thank the Guardianship Clinic, Leslie Parrish, for giving me the same satisfaction to help others.
My name is Elizabeth Alonso. I work at Manat Phelps & Phillips, and I work for the Adoptions Project at Public Counsel. For the large part, work on adoptions that have maybe children with special needs or that have perhaps a little bit more advocacy work involved. For example, I'm currently working on an adoption that was finalized last year but had an extra component that required us to get a little bit more help from the Regional Center for the Child, so that has required a little bit more involvement on my behalf. Brian pretty much has so much knowledge when it comes to, I think, every aspect of anything public counsel does, so I greatly admire him. And Karen has been doing this for such a long time and is so resourceful, and she is really the guru when it comes to adoptions, and if she doesn't know something, she can definitely find you the person who will give you the right answers. That really helps us as pro bono attorneys, that we can never fear that there won't be someone there at public counsel that can help us. I think all the families, for different reasons, are memorable, but I think the one family that I was really, that is probably the most memorable, is one that was willing to adopt 3 siblings, and mostly because they were adopting siblings that were older, and they just really wanted to have family, and had found these siblings, and were willing to do anything in their power to finalize the adoption, and there were a couple of hiccups along the way that weren't legal related, but for example, the eldest of the children wasn't sure if he really wanted to have the last name of his adoptive parents. I know it was a very emotional time for the parents, but the parents were willing to work with the child and really make him comfortable with the adoption before finalizing it. And so it really was an example of a family that was working before even the adoption was finalized. To begin with, I have to give a lot of thanks to my firm Manat, because they really value pro bono work and they really put an emphasis on doing pro bono work. And I think that that's reflected in every attorney, and especially in our managing partner, Bill Quicksilver, who is involved in all the different adoptions that we do here at Manat. And he's a transactional attorney as well as I am. And I think he really shows value to being able to pick up something, learn it, and work with public counsel and not fear the fact that there's a court proceeding involved, even though you're not a litigator. Thank you, Public Counsel. This is a wonderful honor. Really appreciate it, but know that I couldn't do this without your help, and I appreciate everything that you do for the families here in Los Angeles.
My name is James King. I'm with King & Associates. It's a firm I started 30 plus years ago representing debtors before the bankruptcy court. And in the Debtor Assistance Project, I have volunteered to assist debtors in reaffirmation agreement hearings, and also I run a golf tournament called the Earl Hagen Memorial Golf Tournament, which benefits the Debtor Assistance Project. Hard to say which client makes the largest impact because I've helped a number of them, and a number of them I don't see because of the projects that I do work on. I'm very humbled. I'm very, very humbled. And I do want to thank my staff. I want to make sure I cover that tonight and let everyone know that without Gohar and Carmen and Susanna and Crystal and Diana and Giselle and Cynthia and Joseph and Anna and of course my lead assistant Jazz, that my time would not be possible without their help. My family always told me as I was growing up that doing the right thing was reward in and of itself, and the honor that I received was a gold star that recognizes my efforts, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you, Public Counsel.
I'm John Scherer of Gibson, Dunn & Crutcher, a volunteer on the Public Counsel Children's Rights Project.
My name is Katie Marquardt. I'm an attorney at Gibson, Dunn & Crutcher, and I'm a volunteer with the Children's Rights Project at Public Counsel.
Well, I have handled 4 class actions, 3 of which are completed. The first one was to reinstate funding in a rather complicated manner for parents who were adopting severely disabled, developmentally disabled children whose funding had been stopped. We were successful in getting an injunction causing that funding to be restarted. Otherwise, these children could not have been adopted by these loving parents and would have ended up in institutions rather than in warm, loving homes. The second class action I was involved in was a sequel to that first class action and involved obtaining the monies that those parents should have received.
Well, the first and main case that I've worked on with Public Counsel so far was a class action lawsuit on behalf of about 2,000 kids living in East LA who've been diagnosed with autism. When my mom, who works with autistic kids, brought to my attention that some budget cuts that had come down from the governor had been misapplied to this group of kids, and that all of their services had been summarily terminated when in fact they were actually receiving very vital medical treatment for their autism. And so Gibson decided to take on the case, and we approached Laura Fair at Public Counsel, and she and her team agreed to do the case with us, and we ended up getting the classes for the kids reinstated.
The third class action I was involved in concerned the cutting off of funding for treatment of autistic children who needed this specific treatment. Absent the treatment, many of these children would probably have had to have been institutionalized, and certainly most of them would have regressed. We were again successful.
And I'm now working on a second class action, again with Laura Fair and John Scherer, on behalf of kids throughout the state who have mental illness and receive funds from the state and the federal government for them. I've really enjoyed working with Laura on both of the cases. She's very bright. I've learned a ton from working with her. I feel like I'm a much, much better attorney than I was a year ago before I worked on the case. She spent a great deal of time helping and mentoring me, and I will forever appreciate that. And I look forward to working with her for many, many cases in the future, hopefully.
Well, I've been in practice for 50 years this year, and had a great deal of success and a few failures along the way. I don't think there's anything that will top working on these cases with public counsel for these children and having success, capped by obtaining not just one, but 2 awards from public counsel, both of which are in a very special place.
Winning this award means a lot to me. Working on the case has been by far the best experience of my sort of short legal career, but nonetheless, it really reminded me of why I went to law school in the first place, which was to be able to help people and to be able to work with public counsel on both of these cases and actually see the difference that you can make in people's lives has been, for me, life-changing. Thank you, Public Counsel.